I drove my white Tesla Model S through the quiet, rain-slicked streets of Bellevue, Washington, on a gray November morning that smelled like wet pine and coffee. The FedEx office on 108th Avenue was the same one I had used since the early 90s, back when we still shipped floppy disks and thought 56K modems were magic. I only came to pick up a box of beans Aurora kept sending from Portland because she worried her 70-year-old father lived on frozen dinners. The clerk behind the counter, Felix Harrison, a man who had watched my kids grow up and then buried my wife, smiled the same easy smile he had worn for 25 years. "Morning, Mr. Whitlock. Got your daughter's package right here. And, almost forgot, one more thing your wife asked us to hold." He slid a tiny black encrypted USB drive across the counter, wrapped in plain brown paper. No return address, no barcode, nothing. Felix's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Evelyn dropped this off herself about 4 years ago. Mr. Whitlock told us to hold it until November 12th, today, and deliver it to you personally, no matter what." My heart actually stopped for a full second. Evelyn had been dead 4 years, 3 months, and 19 days. I had held her hand while the machines flatlined. Yet the handwriting on the little label was unmistakably hers. Neat, slanted, precise. The same handwriting that once filled blackboards with equations at the University of Washington, and later corrected my terrible code comments with red pen and love. If you're watching this story, please subscribe to the channel, like button, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. My keys slipped from my fingers and clattered across the tile like gunshot in the sudden silence. Felix. Evelyn died November 8th, 4 years ago. Cancer. I was there. His tanned face went the color of printer paper. No, that's impossible. She stood right here. Right where you are, wearing that navy blue coat with the brass buttons she always loved. Talked my ear off about encryption protocols, dead man switches, and how important it was that only you touched this drive. The little black rectangle sat between us like a loaded bomb. I could barely breathe. I signed for both packages with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking, walked out into the cold drizzle, and somehow drove home without crashing. Our house in Medina Heights still looked exactly the way Evelyn left it, cedar and glass. Floor-to-ceiling windows facing Lake Washington. The smart home system we built together in the wild, early Microsoft days when we were young and thought we were changing the world. I locked every door, closed every blind, and sat down at the custom walnut desk we designed side by side in 1998. The drive demanded a password. I tried our wedding date, the kids' birthdays, the day we closed on the house. Nothing. Then Evelyn's voice drifted through my mind like warm breath on a winter window. The most important truths are hidden in plain sight. Finlow, I typed our street address. 412 Medina Heights Drive. The drive unlocked with a soft chime that sounded almost like her laugh. One folder appeared, "The Truth About Our Family." My cursor hovered for a solid minute. My pulse hammered in my ears. Opening this would change everything forever. But Evelyn had trusted me, even from the grave, with whatever horror she had found. I double-clicked. An audio file sat alone, titled, "Start Here, My Love." I clicked play, and Evelyn's voice filled the room. Clear, warm, alive. Exactly the way it sounded when she used to call me from her office at 2 a.m. to say she cracked a proof and couldn't wait to tell me. "Finlow, my darling husband, if you are listening to this, then I am truly gone, and enough time has passed for you to carry the weight of what I have to tell you. I am so sorry for the shock this will cause. I arranged delivery through Felix because I knew he would remember my face, my voice, and would prove to you this came from me and only me. No trick. No forgery." She paused, and I could hear the faint shake in her breathing, the same tiny catch she got when she was trying not to cry. Everything you need is on this drive. I should have told you the moment I discovered it. But I was trying to protect you from a pain I thought would kill you. Now I know protection sometimes means giving someone the terrible truth so they can fight. A longer pause. The sound of her taking a slow, deliberate breath. Ask the children why they lied about my death. The full answer is here, but brace yourself, my love. What you are about to learn will shatter every single thing you believe about our family. Another silence, heavy enough to crush bones. Ethan and Madison did what they did because they thought they were keeping you safe. Or at least that's what they told themselves. But they have put themselves, and us, in a danger I'm afraid they cannot escape alone. Trust no one until you understand everything. Not the police, not our lawyer, not even our children. Not yet. Not until you've heard every file. Her voice cracked completely then, and I felt tears running down my own face. You are stronger than you know. Finlow. You always have been. The man who debugged the first Windows kernel at 3 a.m. with a newborn on his chest is strong enough for this. The encryption key for the main evidence folder is the song we danced to the night we met. At Last by Etta James. I love you yesterday, today, tomorrow, forever. The recording ended. I sat frozen in the dark office that still smelled faintly of her jasmine perfume, staring at a drive that held secrets my dead wife had hidden from me for 4 long years. Secrets about our children. Secrets that had apparently gotten her murdered. Because if Evelyn arranged this delivery 4 years ago, and she spoke of the months before my death as something she saw coming, then she knew she was going to die long before the cancer finally took her. I wiped my eyes, clicked the next folder labeled Financial Evidence, and felt the floor drop out from under me. Whatever Evelyn had uncovered had been documented with the meticulous precision of a federal prosecutor. The first audio file was dated 7 months before her passing. Evelyn's voice was calm but vibrating with controlled fury. Finlow. I need you to understand what I found about Ethan's sudden, ridiculous success. That machine learning startup he kept bragging about at every family dinner. The one that supposedly turned him into a paper billionaire overnight. The company barely exists on paper. Yet $95 million has moved through anonymous cryptocurrency wallets using shell companies all registered to our home address in Medina. Bank records exploded across my triple monitor setup statements showing systematic, surgical withdrawals from my retirement accounts. My 401k, my pension, my brokerage, transfers I never authorized. Digital signatures that looked exactly like mine but carried tiny forensic artifacts only a mathematician would spot. The dates lined up perfectly with Ethan's new $25 million lakefront mansion 2 streets over. The matte black Lamborghini Urus in the driveway. The Porsche 911 GT3 he let Madison drive. The endless Hermès bags and Cartier watches she wore like most people wear socks. An email chain made me physically nauseous. From Meridian Ventures, com to madison.whitlock@gmail.com. Dad is getting suspicious about the retirement withdrawals. We have to accelerate the timeline before he hires a forensic accountant. Reply from TG at Grayson Advanced Tech. Corp handle your father permanently if needed. Madison knows exactly what to do if he becomes a problem. Madison's reply. Sent at 2:14 a.m. Don't worry about Finlow. Mom is the real threat right now. She's been asking way too many questions about the shell companies. She's too smart. They had been planning this for years. My own son, my daughter-in-law, and someone called TG who clearly ran the entire criminal empire. Evelyn had gotten too close to the truth, and they had decided she was expendable. The final audio file was dated 9 days before her death. Evelyn's voice was weak, raspy, frightened in a way I had never heard before. Even during chemo, I confronted Ethan yesterday in the garden while you were at the hardware store, showed him every document, every fake transfer, every forged signature. He didn't even deny it. He just cried like the little boy who once scraped his knee and ran to me for a Band-Aid. He kept saying it had gotten out of hand, that he never meant for it to go this far, that TG would kill him if he tried to stop. She paused to cough, a wet, painful sound that tore my heart out all over again. Then he said something that turned my blood to ice. TG will never let any of us walk away now that we're in too deep. Another pause, longer, filled with shallow breathing. My cancer medication has tasted metallic and bitter for the last 3 refills. Finlow. The pills Ethan insisted on picking up for me himself because he wanted to help. I'm declining so much faster than any oncologist predicted. I think someone is tampering with them, slowly poisoning me so it looks like the disease won. A broken whisper. If something happens to me, you will know it was not just the cancer that killed me. Protect Aurora. She knows nothing about any of this. I swear on my life. But whatever you do not trust Ethan. Our son is lost. He is not the boy we raised anymore. I'm so sorry, my love. The recording ended. I sat in total darkness, the glow of the monitors painting my face ghost blue. Betrayal crushing my chest so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. The boy I taught to ride a bike on this very driveway. The teenager I stayed up all night helping with calculus. The young man I walked down the aisle and handed to Madison with tears of pride. He had been stealing from me for years and slowly poisoning his own mother for money. $95 million. My entire life savings. Evelyn's life. All of it sacrificed for whatever criminal empire this TG person was running. Outside, the peaceful Medina evening shattered. Car doors slammed hard. 4, maybe 5 vehicles, heavy tactical boots crunched across the wet gravel driveway, moving fast, with military precision, toward my front door. Multiple sets, at least 12 men. They weren't here to talk. The front door exploded inward in a shower of oak splinters and smoke just as I yanked the drive free from the port. 4 men in full black tactical gear, rifles raised, red laser dots dancing across the walls like angry fireflies, swept through my living room in perfect formation. I had maybe 8 seconds before they reached the office. Evelyn's warning screamed in my head, trust no one. I shoved the drive deep into my inside jacket pocket and bolted for the back door, slamming my thumb on the emergency rear exit button on my phone just as boots thundered up the stairs. I slipped through the backyard, staying low behind the cedar hedge we planted the year Aurora was born, heart hammering so hard I could hear it over the shouting. My Tesla was almost certainly compromised. GPS tracked, cameras hacked, everything. Instead, I vaulted the 6-foot back fence into the neighbor's yard while their German shepherd went absolutely berserk and covered the noise of my escape. I sprinted barefoot through wet grass to the street and flagged the first Uber I saw, a silver Prius with a driver who looked barely 21. 24/7 internet cafe on Northeast 8th in Bellevue. Go now, please. It's an emergency. Through the rear window, I watched 3 matte black SUVs tear out of my driveway like hornets from a kicked nest. The cafe was perfect, anonymous, open 24 hours, packed with night owl coders, esports kids, and insomniacs. I paid cash for the darkest corner booth, the one under the broken security camera that nobody ever fixed, and immediately started uploading Evelyn's entire evidence folder to every cloud service I still owned. Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, iCloud, my old University of Washington faculty server, 2 encrypted Proton drives, even a couple of ancient university backup servers nobody had touched since 2003. If they wanted this evidence destroyed, they would have to burn down half the internet. Excuse me, sir. The manager approached, sweating bullets, voice barely above a whisper. There are some men outside in suits asking about an older gentleman wearing a gray Patagonia jacket. They showed badges, said it's urgent police business. Badges meant nothing anymore. Is there a back exit? I was already moving. Through the kitchen, past steaming dishwashers and confused cooks, out the service alley that smelled like fryer grease and rain, across the pedestrian bridge into Bellevue Square parking garage. I ran all the way to the 6th floor, lungs burning, and looked down at the district below. 5 SUVs now, at least 15 armed men spreading out in a tightening grid like wolves. They had the whole downtown locked down. Then I noticed the city security camera mounted directly above me on the concrete pillar, red recording light blinking steady. These people operated in complete darkness. They would never risk exposure on municipal surveillance that fed straight to the cloud. I stepped directly under the lens, looked straight up at it, and waited. Hands visible. No sudden moves. 6 minutes later, every SUV peeled away with screaming tires. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Dad, are you okay? I just heard about a break-in at the house, Ethan's voice. The same voice that used to call from Stanford at midnight needing help with recursion homework. The same voice that thanked me at his wedding with tears streaming down his face. The same voice that had been planning my murder in those emails. I'm all right, son. Just shaken up. Where did you hear about it? It's all over the Medina Neighborhood app. Dad, this is serious. You cannot stay there alone tonight. Come stay with Madison and me until the police figure out what happened. The police? Of course. That's really thoughtful of you. Let me grab a few things first. No, Dad. Do not go back there. It's not safe. I'm sending a car right now. Tell me where you are. Please. He was tracking my phone, hunting me like prey. I ended the call and stared at the screen in my shaking hand. The boy I taught everything was now using every digital trick I ever showed him to hunt me down like an animal. But he forgot one very important thing. I wrote the algorithms he worshipped before he was even born. 25 minutes later, I sat across from Ethan at a crowded Blue Bottle Coffee on Bellevue Way, surrounded by venture capitalists in Patagonia vests and 20-something founders in hoodies worth more than cars. The place smelled like burnt sugar and desperation. Perfect cover. Too many witnesses for anything dramatic. Dad, you look terrible. Are you hurt? Ethan reached across the table with the same worried expression he used at age 10 when he broke my golf trophy and tried to blame the dog. I'm fine, just rattled, I said, keeping my voice perfectly calm. Police think it was random thieves looking for easy electronics to flip on the dark web. He leaned forward, eyes wide with Oscar-worthy concern. You cannot stay at the house alone anymore. Dad, come home with us. We have plenty of room. Interesting. He already knew I wasn't planning to stay at the house, and I had never said that out loud. That's generous. But I was actually thinking a hotel near SeaTac for a couple nights. Something anonymous. No need for that. Dad, we have the whole guest wing empty. The guest wing bought with my stolen retirement money. I sipped my flat white slowly, watching every micro-expression. The police said something strange, though. The burglars spent a weird amount of time in Mom's old office, like they knew exactly where to look for her research files and backup drives. His coffee cup rattled against the saucer hard enough to slosh dark liquid onto the table. Why would random thieves care about Mom's old math papers, he asked, voice climbing half an octave. That's exactly what I wondered, I said, locking eyes with him. Unless someone told them those files contained something extremely valuable, something worth killing for. Dad, you're being paranoid. You've been through trauma. Am I? The detective told me targeted searches like that almost always mean inside information. Someone who knows the layout of the house perfectly. Someone who grew up there. Someone who still has admin access to the security system. Ethan shifted hard in his chair, knuckles white around his cup. Inside information from who he asked, voice cracking like thin ice. I smiled the saddest smile of my entire life. Someone who helped design the system. Maybe. I stood up slowly, deliberately. Thanks for the coffee. Son, I think I'll take that hotel after all. As I walked toward the door, I caught Ethan's reflection in the plate glass window. Phone already to his ear, face tight with panic, thumbs flying across the screen texting coordinates. I had almost reached the parking garage elevator when a cold, silky voice stopped me dead in my tracks. Hello, Finlow. Madison Reeves stood beside a gleaming black Mercedes Maybach GLS. Designer suit perfect. Louboutin heels clicking on concrete. Smile sharp as winter steel. We need to have a private conversation. Right now. She stepped closer. Every inch the ruthless tech executive, the Forbes 30 Under 30 articles gushed about for 3 years running. Ethan watched from the cafe window. Pale as death. Phone still pressed to his ear like a lifeline. Ethan tells me you've been asking uncomfortable questions, she said softly, almost kindly. Questions about my retirement money? About how my wife really died. Those seem like pretty reasonable questions to me. Madison's smile never reached her ice-blue eyes. Evelyn's death was unfortunate, she said, voice flat as a frozen lake, but necessary. She was brilliant, but she refused to leave well enough alone once she started digging. The casual admission hit me like a freight train to the chest. This woman had sat at my Thanksgiving table every year, called me dad, kissed my cheek at Christmas, toasted my health with $1,000 champagne, and she had murdered my wife. You killed her. I solved a problem, Madison replied without blinking, without even the decency to look away. The cancer diagnosis simply provided convenient cover and perfect timing. We just helped things along. She gestured toward the open rear door of the Maybach. Get in. We are going to discuss terms at the office. Right now. What terms? My voice came out steadier than I felt. She held up her phone. The photo froze every drop of blood in my veins, Aurora bound to a metal chair with zip ties. Gagged. Tears streaming down her terrified face. Inside what looked like a concrete warehouse lit by a single hanging bulb. Your daughter is very pretty, Madison said almost gently, like she was complimenting a new handbag. It would be tragic if something happened to her beautiful face. They had Aurora, my innocent girl who still sent me handwritten Father's Day cards with little hearts in the eyes. The one who truly knew nothing about any of this nightmare. The files, Finlow, every copy, including every cloud backup you think we don't know about. All of it. Wiped clean. And you walk away with your daughter. Fine, I said, voice steady even though my soul was screaming. But Aurora walks free first, unharmed. That is not how this works. Get in the car. Now. We drove in total silence through the dark. Wet streets of Bellevue and across the 520 bridge toward Redmond. The city lights shimmering on the black water like broken promises. I memorized every turn, every landmark, every possible escape route, the way I used to memorize assembly code in 1989. We arrived at Ethan's gleaming startup campus on the edge of Redmond. 5 glass and steel buildings glowing like a sci-fi movie. The state-of-the-art smart building I had proudly helped design 3 years earlier when I still believed my son was the real deal. 3rd floor. Open concept. Floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the Microsoft campus. Cryptocurrency price tickers glowing green and red on every wall like a casino run by math prodigies. Sit, Madison ordered, pointing to a conference chair in the middle of the empty bullpen. Ethan emerged from a side office looking green and sick, eyes red, hands shaken. Dad, I never wanted it to shut up, Madison snapped, voice like a blade. She pulled up a workstation the size of a pool table and spun the monitor toward me. Every password, every cloud account, every backup. now. But I was already studying the massive smart building control panel on the far wall, the one that controlled lights, HVAC, doors, fire suppression, everything. My phone had auto-connected to the guest Wi-Fi the moment we walked in. I still had full administrator access from when I consulted on the original build, and Ethan never bothered to revoke it because Dad's always welcome. You know, Madison, I said conversationally. Ethan really spared no expense on this place. Top tier everything. I triggered the master fire suppression emergency protocol with one swipe. Halon gas hissed from every ceiling vent like angry ghosts. Red strobes flashed. Steel fire doors slammed down with the finality of guillotines. Elevators locked. Ventilation sealed. The entire third floor turned into an airtight vault in under 30 seconds. "What did you do?" Madison spun around, eyes wild with rage and the first hint of real fear. In 25 seconds, no one is getting in or out of this floor alive without the master override. And guess who still has it? Ethan bolted for the emergency stairwell. He remembered the schematics I drew years ago. Madison lunged at me with a thin tactical knife that appeared from her sleeve like a magician's trick. I dove behind a server rack as every network connection in the building went dark. My override had severed internet, cell service, landlines, everything. "You think this changes anything?" she screamed through the swirling gas. "I still have your daughter locked in a warehouse with men who follow my every order." My phone somehow caught one fading bar of 4G before the jammers kicked in. Aurora's terrified voice came through for 3 heartbreaking seconds. "Dad, help me. They have me at..." The call died, but in the background, I heard the long, low, unmistakable horn of the Bainbridge Island ferry leaving the Seattle terminal. I knew exactly where they were holding her, the abandoned warehouse complex at Pier 39 on the Elliott Bay waterfront. The one with the rusted blue cranes you can see from the ferry deck. I had 20 minutes, maybe 30, before they realized the building was locked down and decided Aurora was a liability. I left Madison pounding on sealed fire doors and ran. Down 6 flights of emergency stairs, out a loading dock, into the cold November rain. Flagged another Uber. This one driven by a kind college kid who didn't ask why an old man was soaked and shaking. FBI field office, downtown Seattle. As fast as you can, please. 25 minutes later, I sat in a secure conference room on the 17th floor of the federal building, the one with no windows and a humming white noise machine. Special Agent Sage Harlan, a woman with sharp gray eyes and the calm presence of someone who had seen every kind of evil, slid a cup of coffee across the table. "Mr. Whitlock, we have been praying you would reach out for 3 years." Agent Cole Ramsey, younger, intense, spread satellite photos, wiretap transcripts, and case files across the table like a winning poker hand. "We know all about Madison Reeves, real name Madison Reeves Carter, and we have been building a RICO case against Thaddeus Grayson for 4 years solid. Ethan's startup is just one of 38 Pacific Northwest tech companies Grayson uses as fronts to launder cartel, Russian oligarch, and dark pool money." Harlan continued, voice steady. "Madison has been inside your family for 6 full years, placed there long before she ever accidentally met your son at that AI conference in 2018. And unfortunately," Ramsey added quietly, "Seattle PD Detective Raven Cole has been feeding them information every time we got close. Every search warrant, every wire. So you cannot trust your own people," I said, voice hollow. "We have been running a completely separate ghost investigation for 18 months, Harlan said, leaning forward. "Are you willing to help us end this tonight? Once and for all, they have Aurora. We know exactly where. Pier 39 Warehouse District. Building 4C, officially listed as tech equipment storage. Actually, Grayson's Pacific Northwest Nerve Center. Satellite shows they are moving shipping containers tonight. Probably to Vancouver. then overseas. If we do not hit them in the next 3 hours, Grayson, Madison, the money, and your daughter all disappear forever, probably to Dubai or Singapore, and Aurora doesn't survive the trip. 2 hours later, I stood in the freezing dark outside Ethan's lakefront mansion in Medina, the one with the infinity pool that cost more than most people's houses. With Agent Ramsey whispering in my earpiece. The house looked peaceful under the moon. Manicured lawn. Warm light spilling from floor to ceiling windows. But I knew it was a fortress, cameras every 20 feet. Motion sensors that could detect a squirrel at 50 yards. Everything I once proudly helped install because my son asked for Dad's expertise. Northwest corner, I whispered. Blind spot in the camera grid. 3-second sensor delay. Same as I designed in 2020. We moved fast and silent across the wet grass. My 70-year-old knees screamed. But adrenaline and terror for Aurora carried me forward like I was 30 again. We slipped through a side gate using an old consultant backdoor code I never removed because Ethan said Dad's always family. Inside. New laser grids crisscrossed the main hallway. Upgraded since I last visited, but still predictable. I had taught Ethan about triple redundancy when he was 15. We crawled beneath the beams on our stomachs like soldiers. Aurora's faint. Terrified voice drifted up from the basement. Dad, are you there, please? The basement server room, the most secure location in the entire house, surrounded by Faraday shielding, biometric locks, and a panic room I helped design as a fun project one Christmas break. Hidden access panel behind the kitchen pantry. Another feature I suggested years ago when I thought I was helping my son protect valuable IP from Chinese hackers. I cut Aurora's zip ties with shaking hands and pulled my daughter into the fiercest hug of my life. Her tears soaking my shirt, her whole body trembling. I'm here, sweetheart. I've got you. It's over. I promise. Dad, they said they were going to. Not so fast. Dad. Ethan stood in the doorway, pistol steady in his right hand, eyes cold and dead, a stranger wearing my son's face. I really hoped it wouldn't come to this, but you just couldn't leave it alone. Ethan, please. She's your sister. Sister. He laughed, bitter and broken, the sound echoing off the server racks. We stopped being family the day I realized what real power feels like. Grayson showed me what you never could, that nice guys finish dead last. Broke and forgotten. While he ranted, my phone silently triggered full emergency lockdown from the basement panel. Steel shutters slammed down over every window with a metallic thunder that shook the foundation. Electromagnetic locks sealed every door with a hiss. Red emergency lighting bathed the room in blood-colored glow. What did you do? Panic cracked Ethan's voice for the first time since he was 9 and lost his first chess tournament. Used the system you built against you. Son. Something Grayson clearly never taught you. Always control your environment better than your enemy does. The gun wavered. Agent Ramsey moved like a ghost and disarmed him in half a second. Ethan collapsed to his knees, finally looking like the scared, lost boy I remembered from childhood nightmares. It's over. Ethan. No, he whispered, tears streaming. Grayson will kill all of us before he lets this fall. Heavy, confident footsteps descended the stairs. Slow, deliberate, enjoying the moment. Game over. Finlow. Thaddeus Grayson himself stepped into the bunker as if the sealed electromagnetic doors were tissue paper. Tall, silver-haired, immaculate Brioni suit that probably cost $50,000, radiating the calm arrogance of a man who had never lost anything in his life. I have been looking forward to meeting the legendary Finlow Whitlock in person for a very long time. The feeling is not mutual. Oh, but it should be. Grayson smiled. Perfect teeth. Zero warmth. This entire 10-year operation was built around you, your patents, your reputation, your fortune, your brilliant mind. Your son was simply the most efficient acquisition vector we could find. He glanced at Ethan with open contempt. Madison was even more useful, beautiful, intelligent, and delightfully without conscience. The perfect handler for a weak-willed Mark. Ethan flinched like he'd been slapped with a 2x4. "And Evelyn?" I asked, voice shaking with rage hot enough to melt steel. Grayson shrugged. Casual as ordering coffee. An inconvenience we accelerated. Her death served multiple purposes, removed a threat, gave us operational cover for years, and left you emotionally vulnerable and blind. The casual admission of murder hung in the air like poison gas. Heavy tactical boots thundered overhead, dozens of them, moving fast. "That would be Detective Raven Cole," Grayson said smoothly, checking his watch. "Coming to arrest you for industrial espionage, money laundering, and the murder of your own wife. Tragic end to a brilliant career." But the voice that boomed through the house-wide intercom was not Raven Cole. FBI building surrounded Thaddeus Grayson, Madison Reeves Carter, Ethan Whitlock. "Stand down now," Agent Harlan's voice. Amplified. Furious. Final. Grayson's perfect mask slipped for the first time. Just a flicker. But I saw it. Impossible. Cole guaranteed me 24 hours. "Detective Cole has been under FBI surveillance for 8 months, Agent Ramsey said, stepping from the shadows with a smile sharp as a scalpel. "Every call, every wire transfer, every order you gave her, recorded in high definition, 4K time-stamped. Dozens of tactical agents poured into the bunker like avenging angels. Grayson's empire collapsed in real time. Live on body cams that would play in court for years." Ethan looked up at me from the floor. Broken. Tears cutting tracks through the dust on his face. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I never wanted Mom to." Madison spat venom even as agents cuffed her designer wrists. "You were always weak, Ethan. Grayson should have killed you years ago and saved us the trouble." Grayson made one last desperate lunge for a hidden panic button under the desk. Harlan tackled him like a linebacker, drove him face first into the concrete. As they dragged Grayson away in cuffs, he looked back at me with pure, animal hatred. "You think this is over? There are bigger players. Whitlock, you have won nothing but a longer life to regret this." "Maybe," I answered quietly, holding Aurora so tight I could feel her heartbeat. "But I saved the only family that matters to me." 6 months later, I stood in the federal courthouse in downtown Seattle as Thaddeus Grayson was sentenced to life without parole plus 180 years. Just to be sure, the judge's gavel felt like the closing of a coffin lid on pure evil. Madison Reeves Carter received 35 years, still sneering in her orange jumpsuit, already cutting deals and naming names to shave time off. Ethan received 12 years in a medium security facility, reduced for full cooperation and testimony that dismantled 27 additional shell companies and put 3 more kingpins away. When the judge read his sentence, he looked across the courtroom at me, eyes red, ashamed, but finally honest for the first time in a decade. I nodded. Not forgiveness yet, but a beginning, a tiny crack where light might someday get in. The $95 million was seized under civil forfeiture and returned to hundreds of defrauded investors and retirement funds across the country. I donated every penny of my personal share to a new nonprofit foundation that teaches seniors how to spot financial fraud, romance scams, and cryptocurrency Ponzi schemes. If Evelyn's murder was going to mean anything at all, it had to protect other families from the same nightmare. Aurora moved back to Seattle, took a senior cybersecurity job at a big downtown firm, and we have dinner every single Sunday now, sometimes laughing until we cry. sometimes just crying, always rebuilding one brick at a time. I teach free cybersecurity classes at the Bellevue Senior Center every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, showing people my age how the same tools that nearly destroyed us can also protect us if we stay vigilant. On quiet Sunday evenings, I drive up to the little cemetery on the hill overlooking Puget Sound. Evelyn's simple granite headstone reads, "Beloved wife, mother, and eternal seeker of truth." I always bring fresh white roses, her favorite, and I always say the same thing when the wind is calm and the water is glassy below. Thank you for trusting me with the truth, Ev. Thank you for believing I was stronger than I ever knew. From that hill, you can see the Microsoft campus lights twinkling, the Amazon spheres glowing, the ferries crossing the dark water like slow fireflies. All the places where dreams are built and sometimes corrupted. But you can also see thousands of ordinary homes where families are trying, every single day, to love each other the right way. I learned the hardest way possible that family is not just blood. Family is the people who stand by you when everything falls apart, who love you enough to hand you unbearable truth from beyond the grave because they know, deep down, you are strong enough to carry it and still choose good. Evelyn is not really gone. Her love lives in every choice I make, every senior I teach, every time I choose truth over comfort, every Sunday dinner with Aurora. Sometimes the greatest gift a wife can give her husband is the chance to discover his own strength, even when the price is learning that the child you raised became a monster for a while. Love transcends everything, even betrayal, even murder, even death itself. So if you take nothing else from this true story, remember this: pay attention to the people closest to you. When something feels wrong, trust that feeling. When money appears from nowhere, ask where it really came from. When someone seems too perfect, look closer. I trusted too easily and loved too blindly, and it almost cost me everything. God works in mysterious ways. He used my wife's final act of love from beyond the grave to save what was left of our family and to bring monsters to justice. I pray none of you ever have to face what I faced. But if you do, remember, truth is always worth the price, no matter how much it hurts. What would you have done in my place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. And don't forget to subscribe for more grandpa stories about family, betrayal, redemption, and the kind of love that outlives death itself.